Morning everyone, welcome back to Nat's Knackers Yard. Now I've had a bit of time to think post ULEZ and I thought I would do this, which is going to be my ULEZ. Is it a rip-off? Right, okay, back on the more familiar territory of the Thundercat. It's feeling a little bit sluggish because he's not been used for a week, but normal commute, let's go and have a bit of a run. Right, ULEZ. What is ULEZ? And I apologise if I sound like a broken record, but this might get broader viewership than just my standard viewers, I don't know. What is ULEZ? So the ultra low emission zone. Yeah, so at the moment only London, but you know, if you're feeling all smug because you don't live in London or you live elsewhere, you've not got long to feel smug, because coming to a big city near you. What the fuck is going on here? No, he's reverse parking. Yeah. So coming to a big city near you, they are spreading for good purposes as well as, you know, pseudo-nefarious ones, I suppose. Now, whether you see it as a further taxation on drivers, whether you see it as a mechanism for cleaner air, whatever, you know, it's coming. So what is ULEZ? Well, it is billed as a green measure, so it is improving the air quality in densely populated areas. So when ULEZ first came out in central London, along with the congestion charge, has to be said, you kind of saw the point of it. Now, the ULEZ expansion out to what is, I think it's the A41, so basically the circular, London circular, increased that zone massively. And increase the number of people in it and areas within it, many of which aren't anywhere near as densely populated as central London. However, you know, air doesn't recognise a line on a map, so yeah, it kind of makes sense, and I can kind of concede that, you know, why stop there? Draw a line on any map and you can happily argue, well, why is it there? Why is it not a mile to the left, a mile to the right? But anyway, it's a completely academic argument because the ULEZ area has expanded so far. There are plans, and Sadiq Khan has announced that, I'm not always going to slag off Sadiq Khan because he inherited it from Boris Johnson, but anyway, Sadiq Khan has announced his intention to expand it further to include basically the London boroughs, which doesn't quite include me. It stops just short, but you know, it increases the size of it massively. So that's ULEZ in a nutshell. What's it for? It tests your NOx level, and I am not a scientist, although I do happen to sleep with one. So nitrogen oxide levels in your fuel, which is the really nasty shit in it, in your fuel, sorry, in your emissions. Excuse me. Which is the really nasty shit in it. It's not the only nasty shit in your exhaust by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the really, really nasty shit. So it tests your nitrogen oxide levels. What produces nitrogen oxide, Matt? Well, thank you very much for asking. Fundamentally, it is your NOx levels increase the leaner you run your vehicle. Not just bikes, cars and everything else. So the more air you give your vehicle, and therefore the higher the burning temperature of your fuel, of your engine, the higher NOx levels you get. So fundamentally, you know, using really quite simple maths, if you richen your mixture, it will lower your NOx levels. Now, the issue that I had on my test yesterday was that I had over-richened my bike, so I had restricted the air too much, and he couldn't get full range to test it when he did it first time. Was that a rookie mistake? Yeah, potentially, yeah, but unless you're on a rolling road, you will not get your bike doing full rev level. Now, you can absolutely rev the tits off it in neutral in your garage, which is what I've done, and not notice you're not getting full range, because you've got no load on the engine. It's just spinning itself. It's not dragging a wheel. And I dare you to try and get full load on your bike at full revs. You run out of road very quickly, or you bump into a policeman. So it's really difficult to do that. It is really difficult to do that. So, you know, basically you can restrict your bike and it will get you better NOx levels. Will it give you enough? You have absolutely no way of telling. So what, that's, you know, a little bit of my side. Now, more broadly, ULEZ testing for motorbikes. Now, I've done a little bit of Googlage, and this is from memory, so I haven't got any notes anywhere written down, but, you know, approximately, there are, in the UK, where I am, there are on the road just over 1 million motorbikes, two-wheel vehicles, or two-wheel motorised vehicles. So it's 1.27 or something like that last year, but, you know, just over one. There are 32 point something million cars on the road, or four-wheel vehicles, so cars, lorries, you know, all that sort of stuff. So what, there's broadly 32 times more four-wheel vehicles than two-wheel vehicles, so there's a lot more of them. Now, looking at the emissions that they produce, let's first of all look at engine size. This is this Thundercat's a 600 or 598cc engine. Yeah, you looked, dickhead. 600cc engine. So I can't find any statistics that break up that, you know, 1.2 million motorbikes as to what they are. I mean, fuck me, who would produce that? But on average, and I'm making really broad assumptions here, this is probably on the bigger side of average. There'll be a lot more, because the licensing rules are that much tighter, there'll be a lot more low cc 125 and below vehicles than there will be bigger ones. But out of the bigger ones, there are more 600cc bikes, or you know, in the boundaries of 600cc bikes, than there are 1000cc bikes. So what, your average bike in the UK, well, for one, it's less than 600cc, but, you know, the bog standard bike engine is smaller than a car engine, because even your poxy little day runarounds like that one, for example, have probably got 1.2, 1.4 engines, maybe even 1.6, 1.8, and the occasional boy racemobile is a 2-litre engine. So what, the engines are smaller. Okay, let's look at emissions. Fundamentally, motorbikes are more fuel efficient than cars. There are numerous tests that prove this, but effectively, you know, somewhere between 50% and in some cases up to 88% more fuel effective, according to a little brief bit of Googlage. It's not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. A bike, I mean, this is reasonably heavy as a bike, but a bike is dragging around its weight and mine. A car is dragging around a fuckload of weight, even unladen. You could say, well, yeah, but it's just you on your bike, Matt, you fucking idiot. Let's have a look at how many, all these cars around here, how many of them have more than one person in them? You know, the simple answer is really not that many. You know, they are majoritively single passenger vehicles for 90% of the time, particularly at heavy commute times. There we go. Oh, there's two in that one. But that was, what, 6 vehicles that went past, 5 had one person in it, the 6th had 2. So they're majoritively single person. So what? Even mathematically, that makes them lower emissions. Now, you know, a 1x1 measuring, sat there revving the tits out of it, what's its levels, they'll be comparative, but fundamentally, if you're getting more miles per gallon, God, that's fucking ancient speaking, more miles per litre, there you go, or kilometres per litre, there you go, let's be fully metric, then a bike is more efficient, therefore it's lower. So what? Well, bikes shouldn't be ULEZ, shouldn't attract the ULEZ charge. Fundamentally, there's not that many of them. They're lower polluting. I don't follow the argument they take up less space. They do when they're parked, agreed. But actually, I get really antsy if there's a car right next. You know, if I can reach a vehicle around me. Fundamentally, I want as much space as a car's got. I can sneak through small gaps, yeah, but I want people to give me a car's worth of space. So they are So yeah, they don't really take that much. They don't really save on the space. So what? So that's it on the ULEZ side, I think. On the cost side, I'm going to pull over because I'm mid-run here. On the cost side and everything else, do I feel ripped off by Riverside garages? Is it Riverside? Yeah, Riverside. Yes and no. I mean, I walked out of there £470 lighter than I walked in there. Got a couple of catalytic converters put on the bike. So what? That's a fucking lot of money, and it's a savvy way of charging. So £175 for that first test, that's fucking expensive. You know, a rolling road, you know, a bit of googlage again, a rolling road you can get for, you know, 30 to 50 quid for a run that will give you your torque, etc, etc. Yeah, there's emissions testing on there as well, but that's steep, and the reason it's steep is because it's pushing the in for a penny, in for a pound button. Well, I've spent that much money, I can't walk away with nothing. It is that double or quits moment, and it's kind of, you know, Gamblers Anonymous. It's feeding you to keep going. So, you know, 175 is a lot of money for anybody. I don't really care who you are. You know, you will notice that falling out of your wallet or your bank account. So you've kind of gambled enough to do it there. So that's, you know, and it just feeds you. So what I ended up with 2 cats and some labour, and they did say how much labour was in. And none of this was we discussed this after the rolling road. They gave me a price, and I said go ahead. So that's 2 catalytic converters and labour, and labour's about, you know, £1 a minute type thing, sort of 60 quid an hour. You know, did it take an hour and a bit to do 2 cats on my bike? No, fucking didn't. But hey, you know, are the cats worth £200 a pop? Fuck no. I was going to say, are they made out of gold? Made out of platinum, I think. But anyway, no. But, you know, saying that, if you buy any parts in a garage, they're more expensive than you could find on eBay. So, you know, arguably not necessarily that much more expensive, but so be it. So do I feel robbed? No, I feel a little bit ripped off, but, you know, you pay market rate for this, because the important thing is, to me, you know, are Riverside garages a rip-off? No. Are they a monopoly? Yes. Does that mean they can set their own price? Yes. Refer back to question 1. You know, if you can set your own price, then you're not ripping somebody off. You're setting your own price. Your price is set by the market, and fundamentally, if the market will pay it, then you charge it. And those guys have got mortgages, kids, etc, etc, etc. In the grand scheme of things, at £12.50 a day a pop, you know, 470 quid, sorry, 570 quid, oh, I saved myself £100 there, 570 quid, that's what, just less than 44, 45, something like that. You know, days in London that's been paid for by that. Now, if that bike lives for, you know, 5 years, you know, you're more than past that, so that's fine. So yeah, is it you know, the whole thing is a rip-off, in my humble opinion. The individual isn't. Right, let's just carry on cruising, because I had to stop and think then. And the final bit, how do you prepare for ULEZ? You can restrict your air, just don't overdo it. Do it less than you thought you needed to. You know, don't do it to the point where your bike runs shit, because it's too late. Your bike will not get the full rev range under load like that. What I am going to do on my next one, though, next bike through the ULEZ, and I have no idea when it's going to be, so please don't ask me. Next time I take a bike through ULEZ, I am going to fit a catalytic converter on the exhaust, or 2 if it's a twin exhaust, or whatever. I will do that myself beforehand, blind, because you can get them for about 40 quid. Well, you can get anywhere between 40 and 80 quid. You can get a half-decent catalytic converter, and I'm, you know, the ones that I got aren't amazing. And then we'll do it and we'll see what happens. So there you go. Is ULEZ a rip-off? Yes, it is. But you've got to do it to get through. Bikes shouldn't be part of the ULEZ at all, but that's the legacy of Boris Johnson. And if that's the only fucking stain that guy leaves on this country, we ain't done too bad. Right, that'll do me. Thanks very much all. Ta-da.